Hi, Liz here, and we are at EMO's Creative Studio, where everything you create is beautiful because you created it. Today's video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make a coupon wallet. Couponing is now very popular. There's even a show on TV called Extreme Couponing. And even though the wallet I'm showing you is for a beginner, novice, or somebody that doesn't carry around their binder of coupons, it's going to be very simple and easy to make. In an upcoming video, I am going to show you how to make a coupon bag for somebody who's really into coupons and wants to carry almost all their coupons with them. So, let's get started. Before I start showing you how to put together this new project, I want to talk about a tool that is a great invention. And this tool is called a walking foot. As you can see here, I have it attached to my baby lock machine. This machine did come with this walking foot, but I also have another two machines, and I went out and purchased a walking foot for those machines. So the premise, or what a walking foot is used for, is when you have thick fabric or you have several layers that are thick and you are trying to sew a seam. If you've ever sewn without putting a walking foot, you'll know that sometimes the bottom fabric will move and the top fabric won't move along with it. Well, when you put a walking foot onto your machine, this walking foot will allow your fabric pieces to move through the machine together at the same time. And how it works is this part right here gets attached onto the part of your machine right here where your needle goes up and down and up and down. So when the mechanism is going up and down, let's see if you can see this, when it's going up and down, it's making the feet of this walking foot go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. The needle regulates the feet and the bottom. They work together. Attaching this to the area where the needle is inserted allows it to walk together, both the top fabric and the bottom fabric, using the feet right here. When you use a walking foot, you want to make sure that you use the screwdriver that comes along with the machine and it gets attached onto the shank. Most walking feet come with the area right here where you stick it in, where the shank was with your needle, and you screw it on tight, and then the other side, this part goes just on the other side of the needle, of the screw that holds onto your needle. Now you need to make sure that you keep an eye on this screw and that it's always tightened, because with the vibration of your machine, because you've got this extra piece of metal right here, it sometimes loosens up this screw and your needle falls out. You don't want your needle to fall out. You don't want your needle to hit the metal so that it bends. So you always want to make sure when you have this walking foot on that you always make sure that the screw is on tight. Okay, if you have any comments or questions about the walking foot, leave them below. I'll be happy to answer them. So now let's move on to our Today's project, as I mentioned before, is a coupon wallet. And here is a completed coupon wallet. Right here, it comes with a hook and loop closure right here. When you open it up, it's good enough to put the coupons that you're going to be shopping with. And thanks to my girlfriend Rose, I'm mentioning you, there's also an additional pocket. And her suggestion was, and this was her words, when I'm out shopping, I pull out my coupon from my dividers and I keep it in my little finger. And then I'm walking around with my fingers all contorted because I don't want to mix up my coupons out of my wallet with the coupons that I have in my wallet. So I decided to put a little pocket, and in this pocket you could put the coupons that you pulled out that you picked up your merchandise. So this pocket it has some weight to it, and I'll show you all the materials that we're going to be using. This wallet has a finished size of 9 inches across. When it's closed, it's 4.5 inches tall. I like to use the contrasting ivory. One, to show you what the stitching looks like. Two, it just gives it a different look, a pop. So this you're going to be surprised how easy this makes. Now, I already made one prior to that, and it was the one that I'm going to gift. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to have the rounded edges right here for the closure flap. Because this is a one-way direction fabric, I wasn't thinking when I cut out the circular parts. So instead of having, let's see if I could do this. Instead of having the dogs facing me standing straight up, with the flap closed and the rounded edges, the dogs are upside down. How I really wanted this was to close it with the dogs facing me. So when you're using a directional fabric, you have to be very careful how you cut your edges. And that's why I decided that I'm going to make this over again for somebody else, and I'll just keep this for me. Even though I'm not really a couponer, it's still a cute idea. So what you can do is, if you don't want to buy a lot of pieces of fabric or a lot of yardage to do this for your couponing wallet, you can go out and purchase 2 fat quarters. 2 fat quarters will allow you to make, 1 fat quarter is for your lining and the other fat quarter is for the outside. Now I decided to choose a fabric that was a little bit more sturdier, so I decided to use yardage because I have so much fabric in my house, I need to start using it up. So this is a brushed cotton. This is a directional fabric, which means the print goes in one direction. If you notice, the dogs or the puppies are all facing the same, standing up with the head up and the feet at the bottom. So I have to be careful when I'm cutting my rounded edges. So the items that you need are as follows. Again, the finished piece is 9 inches across by 4.5 inches tall. You're going to need 2 pieces of fabric, one for the outside and one for the lining, which are cut at 10 by 12 inches pieces of fabric. This one is a directional, and the paw prints, the directional fabric is for the outside, and for me the paw prints are going to be my lining. Then I'm going to cut off probably more like 7 inches of hook and loop or Velcro so that I can sew. Do not purchase the sticky back, because when you try to sew it on your machine, your needle is going to get all gummed up. I learned that the hard way when I was making some curtains for my patio door. So I went out and I bought the non-glue back, and it's really easy to sew on, and you'll see it when we are putting together our project. The next thing you're going to do is, I used a iron-on fusible fleece. I cut out a piece of 10 by 12, and I'll show you what piece I'm going to iron that onto. Now for my inner pocket, this piece of fabric I believe is 9 by 9.5. I am going to fold it over, and I got a moderate weight, not fleece, but a moderate weight iron-on interfacing that I'm going to put on the bottom half of the fabric right here, and then what I'm going to do is make the pocket, but I'll show you that as we get to that part. So let's get started. So the first step I want to do is iron on my fusible fleece interfacing to the inside lining of my wallet, and then I want to iron on the fusible moderate weight fleece to my pocket. So the first one I'm going to work on is my fleece. Make sure you have a hot iron, not on steam, and you just press your iron down. You don't drag it across, because you want to warm up the fibers and you want to warm up the glue of the fusible interfacing. Make sure you hit or touch all the spots on your article that you are interfacing or putting the fusible material to. And you just pick it up and move it over, pick it up and move it over, pick it up and move it over. Very simple and easy. You're going to get some rumples and puckers once you get your iron hot enough and you think that everything has been warmed up, and you can actually feel it. You can actually move your fabric around and try to get those bubbles out, or the puckers. This is one of the reasons why I chose to interface the lining rather than the outside of the wallet, because I don't want to see the wrinkles on the outside of the wallet. Doesn't matter if there's wrinkles inside the wallet, because people aren't really going to be seeing that. Go ahead and try to iron out as many of the wrinkles and puckers as you can. I'm sure there's ways to get rid of it. Maybe there's some suggestions from more seasoned sewers, but I'm doing the best that I can with this. All right, it's all put together. I'm going to put it off to the side and let it cool off. Now I'm going to pull down my pocket. Again, I'm going to interface it with an iron-on interfacing. Turn it upside down so the pretty side is facing me. The shiny side of your interfacing should be matching the wrong side of your fabric. The shiny side is the part that has the glue. Shiny side and wrong side of your fabric together. I like to iron it with the right side of the fabric facing me so I can make sure that I'm not having any extra pieces of glue, of the interfacing hanging out looking at me. Just iron it on, iron it on, iron it on. If you wanted this pocket to be even stiffer, you could actually use a full sheet. But because I want mine to be a moderately weighted pocket, this seems to be good enough. It has enough stabilization in it to do just fine. All right, so let's face the table and let's start putting our item together. Let's see, sorry for all the mishaps. I don't have a professional videographer, it's just me. So the next step you're going to do is you're going to put right sides together. Remember, if you are using a directional fabric where the design goes in one direction, you need to pay attention. So I'm going to put right sides together. What I want to do is I want to make the curved edge. So I have the curved edge like in the pocket right here. I'm not going to, in a directional fabric, I'm not going to do it at the top. I'm going to do it at the bottom. And let me just confirm that. What did I do with the pocket that I made, the other pocket? As you can see, if I do it at the top, when I go to close it, it's not going to look right. So I want to do it where at the puppy's feet, or at the bottom of your directional. So there you go. I've got right sides together. You can pin or you can clip them together. I'm actually going to clip them together because I find that pinning kind of distorts things sometimes. Clip or pin together. Clip or pin together. Clip or pin together. There you go. Now it should be even, almost even all the way around. I'm going to chop off the bottom of this so that my fabrics are even, so I'm just going to match it up like this with my ruler. Get rid of that extra piece of lining fabric that's just bugging me. So now we have it nice and straight. I'm going to take my template. I'm going to take my pen that I use for drawing, and I'm going to make my rounded edges. Now I also have this kind of template. This is from June Taylor, and it's circular templates, different sizes. What I do with this template is I try to eyeball this dotted line to the corner right here, and then I match the edges and make my rounded circle. You can use anything to make your rounded edges to make a circle. I've got a template here as well that I can use like this. It gives it a little bit more rounded. I can do this again, making sure my dotted lines match to the corner right here. Go ahead and go ahead and draw my rounded edge like this. Cover up my pen, otherwise it's going to dry out. Grab a pair of scissors, and now I'm just going to cut out the part that I just drew, the rounded edge. Making sure to follow the line pretty closely. Cut this. And now I'm ready to sew. I'm going to be sewing right sides together, and I'm going to make sure that I have a spot open so I can turn it around. Because I backstitch, I want to find a place that's not going to be super obvious. So I'm going to leave an opening that's about 3-4 inches long. And because I want to remember 1, 2, 3, 4, that I need to leave this opening, I'm going to draw lines here so that I know that I need to start, sew, and end here. I will backspace on both ends to secure the thread so that when I'm pulling it through, I'm not ripping apart the item. So let's move over to the sewing machine. Okay, I'm at the sewing machine, and there's a couple of 2-3 things I want to do. Because I have left the walking foot on, I want to make sure that my needle is tight, so I'm going to double check and just tighten up that screw. It's tight. And then what I wanted to do is not only do I want to sew my wallet, but I also want to sew the pocket. Same premise. With the pocket, you're going to fold it in half, right sides together. You're going to fold it in half, right sides together to match the fabric right here. I think I left my interfacing a little bit too long. Just go ahead and finger press it so that it matches up. Because I'm fighting with the interfacing, I'm going to go ahead and put clips in it so it stays. 1, 2, and the same thing. I'm going to sew on the sides and then down the bottom, and I'm going to leave an opening so that I can put my hand through and pull out, turn it inside out. So I'm going to make lines for starting and stopping. I'm going to put this to the side, and I'm going to actually sew the pocket or the wallet. I am going to make the seam allowance 1/2 inch, not 1/4 inch, but 1/2 inch. So my machine has the markings on the bed for 1/4 and 1/2. I'm going to stick my pocket in at the mark that I made to remind me that not to sew all the way through. I'm going to put it at the 1/2 inch mark on my machine. I'm going to start my machine, but make sure that I go back, my back stitch, because I want to reinforce the stitching because I'm going to be sticking my hand through. Stitch, 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 and because this does not have a marking for the 1/2 inch of when to stop, I have to make a guesstimation. So I'm going to stop there, and hopefully we'll be close to the 1/2 inch, and we are. I'm going to pivot, lift my foot up, pivot, and go. I'm going to pull out my clip, making sure that I remain on the 1/2 inch mark on my bed. I'm sewing at a decent clip. I'm starting to get to the part where the rounded edge is coming. Very simple and easy. You might have to do this, if you're brand new at doing this, you might have to do this a couple of times to get used to it. You are going to hand turn your fabric, slowly stitching, making sure that you keep the edge of your fabric along the 1/2 inch mark on your machine. Now we've got another rounded edge and I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. Now, the good thing about me not having any puckers or folds is because I'm using a walking foot. The only reason the walking foot is on my machine is because I'm doing another project that's very heavy, and I was too lazy, honestly, to take the walking foot off. Now you see how I'm very slowly sewing and making sure the edge of my fabric is matching up to the 1/2 inch mark on my machine. Now, if you notice, I'm using the selvage edge, but because this is better fabric, you're not going to be able to tell on the right side that it is a selvage edge that I'm working on. So we're almost done sewing this. Okay, almost at the 1/2 inch. All right. Let me just... Okay, there we go. Now let's go this way. And now I'm going to back stitch because I've completed sewing up my seam. All right. I don't want to break my thread. That's why I'm doing this. Sorry. I do have some issues with my machine, but it's more, I think, operator error than the machine itself. So you see now I've got it completed. Let me always do that, sorry. I've got my bag sewn. I now want to take a pair of scissors and my edges in my corners I want to clip so it's easier to turn. Clip, making sure you don't cut the stitching. And now I want to stick my hand in, if I made the hole big enough, and pull my item through. I've got my fingers crossed that I did this the correct way this time. Just pulling it through, pulling it through, pulling it through, pulling it through, pulling it through. And I think I did okay. Oh no, again, did I do it again? Oh please no, I didn't do it again. Okay, let me just push it through and have my heart attack when I see what I did. All right, I'm gonna take a pokey thing, and I use a chopstick because I don't want to put scissors through because I've been clumsy enough to poke holes in my item. Let me poke through and see if I really did make this mistake or not. Yeah, I think I made the same mistake. Or did I? Well, we'll see in just a moment. All right, I have my item. Yeah, I made the same mistake. How is it that I made the same mistake? Gosh darn it. Yep, I made the same mistake. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I did the right thing. Sorry. All right, so I'm going to make my prototype. You see how it's squared at the edges here. I want to make sure I did the right thing, and you see the flap has the rounded edges, as you see. I got scared. I thought I made another mistake. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the iron. I'm going to poke out these edges and make sure everything is nice and rounded up here. And I'm going to make sure that everything is nice and poked through down here. I'm going to take it to my ironing board and iron it. Now you see I have this opening right here. What I have learned in the past is we are going to top stitch this. When you top stitch it, all of the edges are all sewn together nicely, but then you come to the part where you have your opening and then you've got a little flap. I have fabric glue. I don't know if this is permanent or temporary, but because I know this item is not going to be washed as often, I'm going to use this type of fabric glue. And what I'm going to do is let me do it while I'm talking. I am going to place some of this fabric glue at the bottom here so that it matches up. I finger press it. My fabric glue is blue. It's pretty sticky and it's pretty good. Put it away. And then I'm going to take the top part, bottom part, and I'm just going to smash it together so that when I go to my iron, everything is going to be ironed out really nice. Now you see, there's no more opening. Fabric glue is holding everything in place. All right, let me iron it and I will come right back to you. And now I have it nicely pressed, as you can see. Let me show you how it's going to look. When we're ready to do this part, I'll tell you what the measurement is to fold it up. But as you can see here, it's a very nice little pouch, rounded edges. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a 1/4 inch top stitching. And I'm going to start at the bottom because, again, I don't want people to see the beginning and end of my top stitching. So I'm going to use, my foot on this machine is an actual 1/4 inch, so I'm going to use that as a guide marker. I'm going to start it at the bottom flap, not on the edge with the round, not on the side with the rounded edges, on the side with the pointy edges. Right in the middle, I'm going to start 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to back stitch. And then I'm going to continue going, top stitch, stop, top stitch, all the way around 1/4 inch. Slow, I'm getting to the edge. I'm going to slow it down a little so I don't go past. One more, stop, turn, go. Now you have another opportunity to see me do sewing on the rounded corner. Again, we're going to slow up your machine. Follow the edge of the fabric to whatever you're using as your guide mark. Round it. I still have some perfection to do on this, but it's getting better. And here we go, slow up. Hand turn your fabric as you're going around. And there you go. Down. We're almost done with this pouch. There's maybe 2 or 3 more steps. One more stitch. Turn. Grab onto my strings so I'm not, the strings that I started sewing with, so I'm not sewing on top of them. Raise my needle. Again. And here we go. Here we are. We've got a really nicely stitched, top stitched item. So I'm going to put this off to the side because there's a couple more things we need to do with that. Now what I want to do is work on my inside pocket. Inside pocket, I'm going to start it at a 1/4 inch up here. Put my needle down. I'm going to start it at a 1/4 inch up here. On the sides it's sewn a 1/4 inch. On the top it's a 1/2 inch. At the 1/4 inch, I'm going to sew, back stitch, sew, one more stitch. Oh no, I said I was going to do 1/2 inch, didn't I? Okay, let's back it up a little. That should be 1/2 inch. Turn it 1/2 inch. Take your clip out and sew to the mark to stop it. Stop your stitching, back stitch. Raise your needle, pull your item out, pull out your clip, go to the next spot. Start at your 1/2 inch. You notice I didn't cut my threads, I just pulled it out and moving my item to my next mark. Perfect. Down. Start stitching, back stitch. It's off a little, but that's okay. I'm going to stop it at the 1/4 inch. Maybe one more. Turn it. Back stitch because I want to secure the corners. Stop, lift my needle, pull out my item. Again, I'm going to clip the corners of where I sewed. Right here and right here. Oh, that's off a little. And then I'm going to turn my item inside out. Turn my item inside out. Poke, poke. Turn, turn, poke, poke. Turn, turn, poke, poke. Turn, turn, poke, poke. I'm going to grab whatever tool I'm using to poke my corners out. And go ahead and use that. Poke, poke. And yeah, let me just poke it out a little bit more. Poke. And stick my finger in to poke this out a little bit more. There you go. Stick it in and poke. And now we have a nice little pocket. Again, the same thing. I'm going to take my fabric glue and I'm going to close. Well, I'm going to cut these threads first. And then I'm going to close this opening with the fabric glue so that when I top stitch, everything is nice and neat. So as you can see, we're using a 1/2 inch down here, 1/2 inch down here. Everything is nice and neat. Use my fabric glue. Sorry. Use my fabric glue right here. Just rub it along. It's like a pen. Make sure you keep the cap on because it will dry out. And smush it down just like this. Smush it down just like this. Run over to my ironing board, give it a quick splash of steam. And then I come back, and now I'm going to top stitch this 1/4 inch. I know that the opening that I have made left for this pocket, I'm going to put at the bottom of the wallet. So that's where I'm going to start and end my stitching. Again, I'm going to do 1/4 inch top stitching, back stitch, so I don't have to worry that the stitch is going to come out. Nope, didn't hold my thread well enough, so now it's all bunched up. One more. Let me grab this. I didn't hold my threads well enough, so now I got this mess over here. Down, and let's go. One more, up, down. One more stitch, up, down. Okay, let's see. And we're now on the side where we started. Back stitch. Pull up your needle, pull out your item, cut all the threads. And I'll make this a little bit neater, but you can see now my pocket has been sewn all the way around. So let me just throw this together so I can show you what it looks like so far. Now, the way you insert this pocket is going to be pretty ingenious, I would say myself. Up like this, and over, just like that. All right, we're going to go back to the table, and I'll see you in a moment. Okay, now we're back at the cutting table. Remember I said we need a 7-inch piece of hook and loop to put on as your closure. So what we're going to do is, before we do sew it up together, we need to put our hook and loop. Let me see. I think I did it. I put the loop on the bottom and the soft part on the top. So let's turn it upside down. You see how it's going to look? Let me double check one more time that I have the directional fabric in the correct direction with the rounded edges, and yes, I do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure 1/2 inch down from the edge of the pocket, and I'm going to mark it with my disappearing ink. Once you warm it up. Sorry, the dogs were barking. I had to go see what the situation was. So we're marking 1/2 inch from the top, and since we are using 7 inches, we want to make sure that we center it pretty good. I'm eyeballing it. I'm not actually marking it. So what I'm going to do is place my hook and loop, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the glue to hold it down. I find that using pins will distort. For me, it distorts. So you just put it on there and then you mark it up against, you line it up against the lines you made. Push it down. And then you go to the machine and then you sew it all the way around the edge. The same thing with the top. I'm going to measure down 1/2 inch. You're going to put it on the inside of your flap. Here. Here. Again, I'm putting glue on the wrong side or the back side of the hook and loop. Eyeball it to center it on your article, your pouch that you're making. Make sure you close your glue. And I'm going to go to the machine and I'm going to sew both pieces on. And I'll show you that in just a moment. I am using hook and loop that does not have the glue on the bottom, so I'm going to be able to sew this on much easier. On the hook and loop, around the top and the bottom is a plain edge of the fabric that it's on that you can do your sewing. It's suggested that you use a zipper foot to put this on, but I'm going to remain using my walking foot, and I'm just going to sew at the edge. I'm going to use the edge of one section of my walking foot to make sure that I keep the sewing straight. I'm going to, of course, back stitch a couple of stitches. Keep on sewing right on the edge. I'm not sewing into the loop section of this. Sorry if my head gets in the way. All right, almost to the edge. I'm going to sew across slowly. And then I'm going to go across, and now I'm going to sew the bottom part of this section, of the loop section of the hook and loop. And being very careful. Let's see. Let me take one more stitch. Go across. There you go. Come back up here. Continue sewing. And let's pull it out and let's see what it looks like. So there you go. There you go. It looks just like this. It's sewn on. As you can see, you can't see the stitching on the back because it's a light fabric. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the top part off camera, and when I come back, I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, our hoop and loop are now in place, bottom, top, and we still have the direction in the puppy's going in the correct direction. Doing pretty good with this. Now we want to finish it off. Remember, this is our pocket, and we want the part where we double sewed it down at the bottom. We want to make sure when it's closed that it is at 4.5. We don't want our pocket to be showing when we fold it, so it should be at 4.5 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's move it up 1.5 inches, just like that. Just like this. Let's put some clips in so that we know what we're doing. Our final step, we have our loop, hook and loop sewn on, and you can see that it's sewn on. It has a really cute little edge to it. I have my pocket inserted, and what I've done is I've put clips on the side because I don't want to distort it with pins, and we're going to sew it all the way up. We're going to reinforce the edge right here, and then we're going to sew all the way across, down, reinforce right here, sew all the way down, and we're probably going to come back up this way, reinforce here, go up and around again, and come all the way down, reinforce right here, and end up where we started. So let's move over to the machine so you can see how this process works. So what I want to do is I want to start my sewing. I'm going to be following the 1/4 inch top stitching that I did. I want to make sure that my edges are even and equal. It may create a little pucker right here, but that'll be good, especially for those couponers that have a lot of coupons. It gives them room to maneuver. I'm not starting at the edge, bottom edge of the wallet because I don't want to have any strings hanging at the end. So I'm going to start right at the 1/3 or 1/4 of towards the bottom. I have my pocket, my floating pocket that I've put in, and I'm going to sew that in when I'm doing my top stitching. So I'm going to start my stitching, and then I'm going to make sure that I try to stay on the line. I'm back stitching, now I'm going and stitching forward, trying to stay on the line, making sure that I don't have extra sewing lines on here. Here we go. Now we're going to double stitch or back stitch on this part here to reinforce the edge. And now we're going to go around the corner. This is going to be the difficult part. You may end up seeing some extra stitching, but that's what makes this item unique, and that it's hand sewn or sewn with love. handmade with love from somebody. Go faster. Let's go around this again. Slow it up. Go around. Oh, wait, no, I'm going to have a double stitch line there. Okay. Let's go up here. Back stitch to secure this. Stitch. Alright, now I already see that part of this pocket is hanging out a little, but oh well. Now I'm going to turn this thing around, and I am going to stitch all the way around again to really reinforce this pocket. Let's go ahead. I'm going to reinforce right here where the edges are. Again, you're probably going to see some extra stitching there, but that comes with the territory when you are hand making stuff and not professional. It gives it a unique look. Alright, let's make that turn. Turned it too soon, but that's, again, it's okay. I'm going to back stitch right here. Bottom, back up. And we're done. Alright, let's pull this out. Let's clip it. Doesn't look too bad. Doesn't look too bad. Doesn't look too bad. So here is my completed pocket. I just have to cut off the strings over here on this side, but you can see you fold it over, hook and loop, little pocket. I gotta cut those strings off. Here you go. Open it up. You got your area for your dividers in here. If you put dividers, put your coupons in. You have this part where you put your coupons in for the items that you've picked out at the grocery store. All right, let's go back to the table. I've cut all the little strings off. It looks really nice. Here you see, here's the back. Let me close it up so you can see what it looks like closed. Very cute little pocket right there. Directional fabric, you're looking at it facing you. Top, bottom, turn it over. The puppies are upside down, but that's okay. You open it up. It's well secured. Nice deep pocket. So you can put you make your own dividers and put it in here. You can use inexpensive file folders. And then this pocket is for when you have picked your item out at the grocery store. So now this one's ready to gift. Now, oh, one thing I forgot is if you can always place your labels, and I'm going to place this label after the fact. I usually don't sew them in. I usually glue them in, especially if it's an item that's not going to be used, washed often. I can put my label right there so that somebody could see it, or I can hand stitch it, one or the other. So now I've got this, that I'm going to gift, and then I've got my prototype that I showed you. Here you go, coupon wallets, fast and easy. Okay, my name is Liz. We are at Emo's Creative Studio, where anything you create is beautiful because you created it. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. Until the next time, happy quilting, happy sewing. Take care. Bye.